Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 47 Street Rod Project on My Cars Shop. So, got a couple things we're going to try to accomplish here today. Take you over to the car and show you a couple things also, but just going to do the same thing that we did in the last episode on the passenger side as far as the vent wing window and the inner window retainer molding piece. We're going to bring that out here, get that sanded down, get that primed, get it cleaned up, get it ready. Now, one little snafu that I had, I've discovered, I don't know for sure, I think I'm missing a track for the back of the door. I'm still trying to sort that out. I have tried repeatedly for days to get a hold of Bob Drake or Max, and can't get a hold of anybody at either of those places. But I've got an idea. When you can't get the information you need, you become resourceful. So I'm working on an idea of how to make my own track. I'm not sure there was one in there, but putting one in there, if there wasn't, isn't going to hurt anything. The challenge is I don't remember there being one when I took these doors apart. And this car was fairly complete. When I got it, the front clip was off. The engine, the original flathead V8, was in the car before I picked it up. I actually helped the previous owner take that out to put it in his 32 Ford street rod that he had, or his 32 Ford hot rod. But this car was complete. It had the original transmission, the original rear end. The interior was still in it. The remnants of the door panels were still in it. The glass was still in the car. So it was fairly complete as a car when I got it. But I do not really have any recollection of there being anything in the back of those doors. There is a couple screw holes. I'm wondering if those parts disappeared somewhere along the line. I just don't remember. So I'm continuing to research that, but I have a design in mind that I can make fairly easily, be completely undetectable from the outside, and it will, if there wasn't a track in there, it's going to make the windows much more functional. But we'll see. So anyway, I'm not going to get to that today because I'm still looking for some materials I know I have around the shop to make that happen. But it's hot rod stuff, and all that matters at the end of the day is that it looks great and it's functioned and it's not cobbled together. We don't need any cobbling or stuff like that. I want things to be right. So let's take you over to the car. We'll show you a couple things that I did do the other night. I didn't have the phone going, and we'll go from there. So welcome to this episode of My Car Shop. Okay, so here we are. We got the vent wing window in, as I mentioned. It's only tacked with a couple daubs of silicone on the outside edge. Got the tape off. The glass is in, so I'm not worried now about this glass falling out on the floor. Of course, it's going to remain closed for now. But the other thing I did, I want to bring you around to this side here and let you see what I did in here. Okay, so I got the window crank mechanism in the car right here. Got that mechanism all lubricated and cleaned up. I'm not going to put it up and down because there's it's just catching on stuff because the track isn't in place right now. But the other thing, and this was something I couldn't find, and as I was searching for this back track the other day, seeing if there was one, I have been looking for this mechanism for days, and I was afraid I had lost it. I knew it was here. I remember seeing it, but as I've mentioned in all the moves, it had disappeared. So everything's working here now. This is not the right handle. I've got to find those. I'm not sure I have them. That locks the door right there, and then that's neutral, so the door opens, and that's the door release. So the door mechanism is now working. I think it was this one. No, it was the one on the other side. There's a spring in here. It's a kind of a little C-shaped double clip spring that makes this return. There's a spring back there and one up here. It doesn't spring when you lock it, of course, but when you pull the handle up, those two springs work together to make that handle return. The one on that side was missing it, but I was digging through a box of bolts, big bin of bolts, and I happened to have another one in that pile. So I got it installed in that mechanism over there, and everything's working good now on that side as well. So I'm happy about that. So let's take you over now that the glue is set up on that window and show you how nice that window mechanism works over on the passenger side there, or driver's side. Okay, so this window is all nice. Oh, my seal popped down, have to fix that. This window is all nice and working. I forgot the handle, just a second. I have all the window cranks, but I've only got one out of the box right now. So this window goes down, if you can see that, very nicely, works good. That's as far down as the window goes on these cars. Not sure why that seal let go. We'll have to get out some trim adhesive and get that back in place. So the window goes up and down very nicely. Very happy with that. But the coolest thing about this is I love this feature, as I mentioned. These windows not only go up and down, they only go down this far because of this big wheel well, but they also, you can see it, they go back. So from the inside you can see that, yeah, there you go, you can see that. So I do love that feature about this car. It's really cool. And literally on a hot day, just I don't like to put them down, like I said, I don't like the look. But I do think that cranking them back just that 1.5 to 2 inches is an awesome feature. Just a little air to move in the back of the car. It's a big area back there, and a little air movement is a great thing. So there you go. Okay, so what I'm going to be working on right now is getting this assembly out of the car, getting it scuffed down, primed and painted like you saw in the last episode. Getting that vent wing window in here, as that glass in here as well is going to be on this, so that this assembly is sitting on the bench, it's all dry, ready to go. Now that I know how it fits from doing the other side, I'm real comfortable with just putting the glass in here and then getting it in the car later. So we'll do the same thing. We'll put a couple dabs on there just to hold it in place, and we'll get this side looking pretty like the other side here with the gray paint and everything. So that's what's happening today on My Car Shop. Okay, so I've got it all sanded down. All the loose rust is off. It isn't necessary to get it to become perfectly shiny metal because this is a rust converting primer, and it does a fine job. I've used this for years. Excuse me. Got it all primed down with that. Now this has to dry for half hour, 40 minutes. Then I'll hit it with some etch and fill primer that will just take out any little scratches that might be left. Last on the other one, I didn't even have to sand it with that. I just sprayed it on there and then was able to paint it with the top coat. So we'll see how that goes. I'm guessing we'll see the same thing here. Everything looks really good. So once this is dry, we'll hit it with the gray primer. That will have to dry for a while, and then we'll be able to go back and top coat this. So stay tuned. Okay, so that's dried now for about 40 minutes. I'm ready to put the gray primer on, so we're going to get that done. Then that'll have to dry, and then we can top coat it. Okay, so we're ready to put the paint on now. Hopefully we can do this in one coat, but if not, no big deal. Before I can put the vent wing glass in, I'm going to have to let this dry pretty good. So we may not get that done today. Matter of fact, I'm thinking the best scenario I can do here is probably to let that dry and then come out later this evening and tuck that glass in there after that paint is good and dry. So we'll see how that goes. This may be the end of the episode, but I'll do a wrap up so you'll know if it is or it isn't. So let's get the color shot on this thing. Luke, I'm your father. That was just for you, Scott. All right, here we go. Let's get it done. Okay, so for those who are very observant, you'll notice when I did the priming, I went around the outside edges first and then came in and filled in. And this time I went over with the finish and gave it a light coat all over everything except the edges. And there's a reason to my madness. It's only my own thing. I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's something that I've learned. If you heard me talk in one of the other episodes, I talked about laying down a glue coat. When I'm doing finish work, I like to get a dusting over all of it before I start really getting into putting it on heavy. That gives the paint something to bite into, so it's less likely to run. So by the time I got that dusted, and then I went around and started doing the edges, first of all, that middle was just enough wet that any of the overspray from the edge was starting to melt in. Second of all, it's giving that middle a chance to tack up a little bit so that when I go back in there and then put a heavier coat on like you saw me do, it bites into it and is less likely to run. So that's the reason for my madness, if you notice the difference between the way I did that. The other thing that I did at the end, after I got it all covered and I was sure that there was nothing shadowing through, I just went over it, gave it a light dusting. I wouldn't do that if it was going to be a shiny color, but this is a satin color. And what that does is, if you put satin on too heavy, sometimes the solids or the matte stuff that makes it matte, basically, that loses its sheen, falls to the bottom and it ends up too shiny. So what I did at the end there was just go over it and give it a light dusting just to make sure that satin finish was on the top, so it dries real nice with a very dull sheen. Again, it's my own thing. It's not as critical with this paint as it is when you're doing it in a spray gun. This stuff covers great. One coat usually does it when I'm doing interior stuff like this. Probably eventually what I'll do is take these panels back out and go over them with a satin clear. I don't have any now, and with this silly quarantine the way it is, I'm not going to have any anytime soon. We're still looking at probably 10 more days from what they're saying right now. So anyway, that's what I've done. So this has to dry for quite a while before I can start handling it. I wasn't thinking about that before. So as I was spraying, I realized I need to just stop here for today, make this the end of the episode, let this dry, and probably come back tomorrow and put that in the car and get the vent wing window in the car and leave it there. I was going to do it here on the bench and let it dry overnight, but that paint's going to be several hours before I can handle that. So we're going to call this the end of the episode for today. So thank you for watching My Car Shop. One of the next things I think I might do, maybe tomorrow, maybe later today, we'll see. I haven't given you a project update on the 26 Oakland for a while. There's been no work happening on it, but parts have been arriving, so I may do a 5-minute video kind of to get you up to speed on where we're at with that car and tell you what we're waiting on, because I'm kind of stuck right now with this quarantine. I can't get some things done that I need to get done at a machine shop and an electric shop. So we'll give you an update on that just to keep you fresh on that project too as well. Make it a great week for yourself, and we'll see you soon once again here on My Car Shop. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tell your friends, like the page, subscribe, like the videos, share them with other people. Let's get the viewing up here and get more people enjoying this. Thanks for watching.